Subhanu Saxena, MD and Global CEO at Cipla, joins us on the show right now. Mr. Saxena, such a pleasure to speak with you today on ET Now. Firstly, how many $1 million did Nexium get for you in the second quarter? And how much do you see would be the contribution for the balance of the year? Because the street is really fixated with this number from Nexium.
We're very happy with our strong results this quarter, and our growth momentum has continued for the first half of the year. We grew 25% in this quarter, and year-to-date growth over 30%. In addition to the impact of esomeprazole, there's still very strong underlying organic growth for the business. We expect that the bulk of the esomeprazole sales now have been clocked in the first half of the year. But the good news is the organic growth for the business is continuing and will continue for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but can I get some numbers from you, Mr. Saxena? Good morning, this is Neeraj here. The numbers of the Nexium generic in Q2.
We don't break out the numbers, but what I can say is if you look at the organic growth of the business starting from Q4 last year as an indication, you can expect that the organic business continues to grow at roughly that rate.
Right. What's gone wrong, Subhanu, with the domestic markets though this time? Because the growth is just sub 1% when the street was anticipating a double-digit number.
You actually have to split the numbers into our branded business and our generics business. Our branded RX business actually did grow in line with market. I think, as I'd mentioned in the last call, we restructured our generics portfolio last year. So you're seeing year-on-year declines in our generics business, driven mainly by portfolio restructuring. So our branded RX business actually showing very good, healthy growth in line with market, and we expect that growth to accelerate.
You at the end of Q1 said that the guidance will be 20% on the top line. Now, are you revising it?
We're still sticking with our guidance for now. Let's see how the next quarter pans out, and then we'll revisit. Obviously, we have various events happening as we speak. We're looking to close our US acquisitions later this quarter, beginning of next quarter. So we'll revisit the guidance as we go through this Q3.
So how will the second half pan out for the company in terms of top line, margins, and will it be slower in the second half as you are not revising the guidance?
I think, as I mentioned, if I look at the impact of esomeprazole, you won't see that in the second half of the year, but you will see good, strong organic growth continuing for the balance of the year. And we've mentioned mid to high teens as the underlying organic growth rate. We expect that to continue.
Right. And what are the factors that are not going in favor of the company for the UK Advair launch?
So as I mentioned in the last call, we're on track with our overall European regulatory timelines. And I'd mentioned it's about 12-18 month timeline to go through all those regulatory steps. As of now, we remain on track versus our own expectations. I also mentioned last time that actually Europe is not a major driver of our respiratory growth. We see over $1 billion of growth in our respiratory business over the next 5 years. Half of that growth is coming and will come from markets where we already exist today. So that's in our hands as we speak. If we look at the remaining half of the growth, 2/3 will come from our US business and our pipeline, and our pipeline remains on track for the US, and only the balance 1/3 comes from our European launches. So actually the bulk of our growth is actually going to come from where we are today and as we launch our US pipeline. And for our European regulatory timelines, we remain in line with our expectations.
How are you taking the Invasion deal ahead? What will the 483s impact this deal?
So as you can imagine, we do full due diligence before we enter into any acquisition and make sure we're aware of all the issues. And of course, Cipla has very strong standards on quality, and we look to bring those to all of our operations. So we remain on track to close the transaction. We're waiting for key US regulatory approvals to happen. As of now, things remain on track. We obviously will need to wait until we have all regulatory approvals in place.
So are you saying that you were aware of the Form 483?
I won't comment on specific due diligence, but we had an excellent understanding of all the issues and opportunities and made the acquisition with full view in terms of the asset and the opportunity it holds for Cipla.
Okay, how will life change in the US for Cipla now that you have a presence there via acquisitions?
So historically, last year, US was only 8% of our business total. We had stated an aspiration that by 2020 that could be 20%. I think we'll accelerate the size of our US business as we now complete this acquisition, and we'll certainly see an increased focus on the US. We look at the pipeline of ANDAs that we would get through this acquisition. It gives us critical mass. We're already looking at what we can do to accelerate some of our own pipeline opportunities. As I've mentioned before, I do want us to have a very balanced geographic portfolio by 2020. So I still expect that the US may be no more than 20 to 25% of our total business. India will be 30% of our business. We have a very strong footprint in emerging markets, and that will still be 30-35% of our total business by 2020, and Europe will be 10 to 15% of our total. So I think Cipla will have a number of strengths: a continuous strong growth in our India business, a strong footprint in emerging markets where now with our front ends we'll start seeing that growth in the next couple of years, and an acceleration of our presence in the United States.
Right. Mr. Saxena, I mean, the Form 483 on Indore revealed that there are no data integrity issues, but there are quality and control issues. What is Cipla doing towards this?
I think it's important to state that these things do happen in the course of normal business. A 483 is the FDA's way of communicating its observations, and they are of no consequence if they're successfully answered and dealt with. We don't comment on specific inspections that we've had. Suffice to say, if we look at some of the observations that we've had, they're relating to written procedures and process improvements that we can make, nothing to do with data integrity or the fundamental quality of our products. And we welcome all opportunities to continuously improve and strengthen our systems in the company. And Cipla has and always will maintain the highest standards of quality, and we're fortunate we have a good reputation with the various regulatory authorities around the world.
How are you envisaging the Pulmicort opportunity, Mr. Saxena?
We're not giving specific guidance on that. Clearly, we've partnered there with Sandoz, and it will depend to see how market dynamics play out over the next quarter or so. And if we see opportunities, we'll reflect that in our guidance through Q3, Q4.
All right. I have a couple of questions really, but Mallya, okay, or let me just ask you the final question. And the final question is that we were trying to get an answer again from you on what the Nexium performance was in Q2. Was it lower than in Q2 than in Q1? And how do you see it for the balance of the year?
We have confidential agreements with our partners. We won't reveal specifics, but what I'll repeat for you is that if you look at the underlying organic growth and you look at that growth coming out of Q4 last year, it'll give you a good sense as to how the organic growth of the business continues to be strong for the company. This is a very exciting period of dynamic growth for Cipla. We continue to expand our operations around the globe. We continue to make a difference in the lives of millions of patients around the world and in India. And as we complete 80 years of Cipla, we really feel that the best is yet to come.
Just so good chatting with you, Mr. Saxena. Thanks so much for taking the time out and really candidly speaking with us where things stand as of now for Cipla.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.